I'm Jim Ross. He's Matt Van Horn. And this is the 3 Mile Domination Podcast.
Here we go for another week of 3 Mile Domination Podcast. How's it going, Matt?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Good. Start another work week here, but on to doing a podcast and remain consistent here on these.
Yep. We don't often get 3-day weekends, so it's real nice to have that every once in a while.
I'll take it.
Absolutely, and I know some of you probably won't be listening to it anywhere near this time, but for all of you veterans out there, we appreciate your service and thank you.
Definitely.
No, this week has been great. One of the things I wanted to talk about this week was a book that I picked up a couple weeks ago and is finally about finished, and it's just really, really excellent. It's called So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport. So,
nice. Where'd you hear about this book?
I actually heard about it on another podcast, amazingly enough.
We're podcast junkies.
We do. We listen to all kinds of stuff. But I had actually, not only on a podcast, but he also runs a blog that I follow called Study Hacks. And it was, he started the blog, and it really just trying to maximize his time management potential while he was going through graduate school. So, there's always some very, very interesting things in there. And one of the things they always talk about is really what your passion versus what people will actually pay you for, which they call craftsmanship. And, Cal Newport, he's actually a professor of, I believe it's IT at Georgetown University. And he's basically collected this and interviewed people and gone through, followed people who have been very, very successful, and also people who went and followed their passion. And, that's really what seems to be a common theme these days is, go find out what your passion is, do that, and you'll be happy. Well, the problem is if your passion is, 16th century art and you can't get a job in a museum, that passion is not going to pay for you, pay your life. It's just not. No one's going to pay you for that. So basically the premise of the book, and I'll go into it a little more in detail, is that the people who are passionate about their work didn't necessarily start out that way. They got passionate as they got better at it. And as time went on, say, for example, in self-storage, if you've been in the self-storage industry long enough, and I'm not talking about a year or 2 or 3 years, just for example, Jim and I have been in this industry almost 15 years each. And basically the premise is that as you go through those years and you gain skills and you put in, say, your 10,000 hours like Malcolm Gladwell says in his books, you become passionate because you become good. And once you become good, people will pay you for that skill, and that's when you become passionate. It fulfills you. It fulfills your needs internally versus going on versus trying to follow your passion. One of the examples in this book of someone who, was following their passion felt, there was a girl in here, and I think her name in the book was Jill, had a job at a marketing company, and she was making very, very good money, but again, did not like it. It's like what everybody's worried about, being caught up in the rat race. Didn't like it, it wasn't fulfilled, but she'd only been there a few years. So again, building up that craftsmanship to where you are the top of what you do, that what they call career capital. And, she decided she liked yoga and wanted to go do yoga, and went and took a 3-hour yoga certification class, quit her marketing job, and thought she was going to open up a yoga studio. Well, part of the problem is that she went opened this yoga studio, but she didn't have what they call the career capital or the years in the experience to be able to run that successfully. And it failed, and then she, and in the story, she ended up on food stamps because she couldn't get her yoga studio to work because she did not have the experience or what they call, again, the career capital in yoga to be able to make that work. So it was just a really, really interesting story. It's a couple case studies like that. So it was just really, really interesting on it. I highly, highly, highly recommend the book. For those that are especially those of us, and I mean, Jim and I have been there too, where you're sitting down and, you're looking at your occupancy reports and, you'd much rather be, doing something on the beach or something. I mean, we all have been there. And, you know, it's just one of those things where you have career capital, especially in storage, where I think this is an amazing industry, and people may not look at it that way, but we're really in an industry that's becoming mature. It's getting there, and it's becoming mature. You know, the Wall Street and everything is noticing what we are. There's a lot more money going into our industry, and those of us who have put the time in and have learned this industry from the ground up and have really, really worked on building what we call career capital, can be really, really successful in this industry, because a number of people want to get into it, and they need people who know how to do it. And therefore, you know, those of us in this industry that really put the work in, it could turn out very, very successful for us, and we can be very happy.
Oh, definitely. No, I mean, again, it's all about, you know, we read these books, and we're always learning and growing. I look back, you know, 15 years ago, nobody didn't know anything. But
no.
It's, you know, to immerse yourself into the industry and also learning, you know, as you're going and reading these kind of books, you know, it's a great way to really, you know, make yourself better. But if you can grow in the industry as well, then great.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, one of the things I was thinking about while I was reading this book is, you know, I would love to be the GM, you know, general manager of the New York Mets. Would love that. I mean, that would be what you would call my passion. But
Sure.
I don't know anything about running a baseball team. I really don't. I mean, I watch it on television, and I can play, couch manager, but I don't know anything about it. I don't know what it takes to run a baseball team. I don't know the economics behind it, except what, you know, contracts and things that are put in the news, but I don't know how to run it. I don't know anything about, you know, setting up team travel or anything, what the rules are. So, you know, me at my age right now, going to go and say I'm going to be the GM of the New York Mets, it may be my passion, but I have no career capital in baseball. Other than I played Little League when I was little, and that's not enough. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I have no career capital to be able to go and do that. But when we talk about self-storage, when we talk about management, when we talk about operations, when we talk about feasibility studies, development, you know, things in our industry, Jim and I do have career capital in that because we've been doing it for so long. And therefore, once you have that career capital, it makes you feel good because you're moving forward in your own industry, and therefore then it becomes your passion rather than trying to figure out what your passion is, because most people don't know what it is. And if I were to say, okay, Jim, what's your passion that you want to go do tomorrow? You know, it might be 3 or 4 different things, and it may not be something that you really, really, really want to do.
Sure.
You know, one of the blog posts that Cal Newport put on his blog, this was probably a few weeks ago. He interviewed, or they were interviewing, for those of you who love stand-up comedy, Louis C.K. And, you know, during the interview, what it said was, you know, oh, you know, how do you feel? You know, you have all these great things, and, you know, how do you feel now that you've made it? And he goes, you know, there was a lot of work that went into this. You know, Louis C.K. has been doing stand-up in New York for 2 decades. Yeah, and he's, you know, one of the things he said was, this didn't come overnight. It was an absolutely horrible process. And what that means is that, yes, he's successful now, but starting in, you know, probably I would guess probably his late teens, early 20s, going around the comedy circuit in New York is not easy. You know, it's not like he was wealthy, probably slept in his car, probably slept on the subway there and back, probably had a really, really crappy apartment, not in Manhattan. And, you know, basically the premise of it was that the process, which we're all going through on a daily basis to become good at what we do, was just horrendous for him. He said it was a horrible process. He hated it, and it's just like everybody else. You're going through the toughest times of learning. You want to quit. You don't want to go forward, but if you stick with it and you become really good, then you've got something. And that's really the premise of what this book is, and I highly recommend it to everybody. I'm actually going to be buying some copies for some other people that I know.
Well, as you've been talking, I went to my Amazon Prime account. I already got one ordered, so got one coming to me.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. And there's a couple case studies in there where, you know, where it shows how people who did build up what they call, again, career capital, or what they would call experience is really what that is. And over time, and how they were able to, you know, parlay that into different things. And, you know, there's this idea of consistent study that's out there as well. You know, there was a book by Jeff Colvin called Talent is Overrated, and that's one of the things it focused on as well. And they mentioned that in this book where it's just consistent study, where you're always, you know, learning new things and working on it, and not just, you know, messing around. You know, this consistent study which makes you better. where you're really pushing your limits. So where if you're really good at sales, well, now I need to push my limits and learn marketing. I need to push my limits and learn, maybe a little bit more about finance and how self-storage facilities are financed and how they operate financially, and how to market these things in different ways, how to come up with new sales program, because, our sales programs in this industry are recycled, this telephone game that's been spread and spread and spread from somebody who worked at a REIT. Now I'm going to bring it into, what I learned at a REIT, I'm going to bring it into a smaller mom and pop operation, and that gets telephoned down even further and further and further, where it gets diluted, and we have this half crazy sales program that was once from one of the REITs, but it's now morphed into this ugly mess. And, it's really just about getting better. And they said, as you get better, you get more passionate. So I really enjoyed the book.
Yep, and kind of spinning this towards, like the self-storage manager.
Sure.
There's plenty of, downtime in storage, as when you're renting. I mean, it'd be great if we're renting 20 units a day, but that's not realistic. So in between renting units and phone calls and collection calls and that kind of thing, your day-to-day operations, there's downtime to be learning and growing and reading his books and going through some courses. And, and seeing how you can spin that towards making your facility better with, your salesmanship or your marketing and just your overall customer relations.
Right, and then some people are on this call, especially maybe the owners or investors or maybe even some managers that say, oh, I don't have time to read a book while I'm in my store. I have to do this, this, and this, and this. And that I completely understand that premise. But we are now what we would consider knowledge workers. No one is hammering out widgets anymore. That's what it used to be in the early 1900s here, last century, where, you go to a factory and you bang out widgets. And you knew what your job was. It was to bang out as many widgets as you can during the day, and then you would go home and you'd have lunch and the horn would ring, and then you'd go home and life was good. Then you come back the next day and you'd make more widgets and make as many widgets as you could. But now what we are, what we've become as a society is knowledge workers. We have to figure out how much time to spend on certain activities. And I'll be honest, if my managers if there is some downtime, the property's clean, everything looks good, and they're reading a book like this, or reading Success Magazine, or listening to an MP3, or a podcast of something that relates to what they're doing to expand their knowledge, I'm fine with that. I really am. We have to become more diverse in our skill sets. I mean, you cannot just build a facility, stick a manager behind the desk, and assume that it's going to hit saturation, or where you can be able to refinance stabilization in 24 months. That just doesn't happen anymore. I mean, years ago when we'd sit in a 3-mile radius and had 3 competitors, now you've got 7. So we have to learn to sell. We have to learn to market correctly and do things that help us convert more customers, or we're just not going to make it as an industry.
No, I totally agree. In fact, maybe we should have a little section on our website, like a little recommended reading list or training set, that kind of thing. So yeah, especially for like our managers, and let them know, these are some great resources for you to learn and grow, and everybody else. So yeah, that's a good idea. We'll have to put something like that together.
I think so. I think we have a lot of stuff that you and I read on a regular basis and listen to, and just even blogs that we look at on a daily and monthly basis, or podcasts that we listen to on a weekly or monthly basis that, if people, again, this comes down to putting the time in. And that's really all of what anything it is that you become good at, is putting your time in. There's no easy shortcuts on this stuff. I mean, the stuff that even Jim and I have gone through, there's times where it was painful. And there are times that we put in, I don't know how many hours per week, trying to learn this stuff, and we still do it, and we still have to get better. And there's just no easy way of getting around it. You have to put the time in. No one's naturally good at anything.
No, that'd be nice. Not me,
yeah.
But I agree. So, okay, yeah, we'll do this once in a while. When we have a book that really, hits a nerve with us, we'll do a quick episode on it and do a little book review. We'll keep a list like this on our website.
I think so. I think that would be great. This, books, and whatever else we find to be interesting and valuable to anybody else that actually wants to sit down and listen to it. And that's really what it boils down to. And hey, you know what? If you don't have time to read, or you don't have time to do certain things, get it on tape or download it on your iPod or your iPhone or your Android, and listen to it in the car while you're driving. I do that a lot when I'm going between site visits, where I have properties that are an hour, hour and a half, couple hours away. I'll put those on, I'll either bring CDs and throw them in the car, or I'll download MP3s or use a podcast manager on my phone and just listen to it while I'm driving. Anything you can do, whatever extra time you have, because then we're not wasting time on the road. We're really trying to use that to the best of our advantage.
I can't remember the last time I listened to music in my car or at the gym. It's always a podcast or, some kind of ebook. Not ebook, audiobook. Yeah.
I agree. I still listen to music at the gym. I got to have something to keep me going. But in the car, when I'm driving between site visits or, just, wherever I'm going, I try to have something like this, something meaningful, uplifting, something I'm trying to learn while I'm driving, just to listen to while I'm on these trips. And, again, my trips are hour and a half, 2 hours, 3, 4 hours sometimes in the car. Mm-hmm. So it's really time that we can spend just trying to learn new skills.
No, perfect. Well, good. I think we nailed that point home about just, always learning and growing. There's plenty of resources out there. So anyway, I had a quick story to tell here about going back to specifically storage here. I was thinking we were going to do this, our little episode of This Week in Dough. And I'm like, we're just going to hit this every once in a while. Well, we're, about 3 weeks in a row? And these stories just keep popping up. And it kind of sounds like storage 101, but if anything else, this is basic stuff that we'll just remind everyone to just make sure you have, checks and balances in place so this kind of stuff doesn't happen. So without further ado, here we go for This Weekend. No! Anyway, I had at all of our facilities here, we utilize call centers. And so I got a call late Saturday night. And what happened was this couple rented a unit earlier in the day, and it was from a new relief manager. So I'm not to say give her an excuse or anything. It shouldn't happen at all, but it was a new relief manager. Anyway, she rented the unit, did all that. She closed up, and the people came in to rent the unit. Move their stuff in. I think it was around 8 o'clock at night. So, of course, office is closed, but they can get in the gate. Well, you can probably guess, but when they got to the unit, the green lock was still on it. The manager never took the lock off the rented unit. And it should never happen if you have it in place where you don't rent the unit without showing the unit to the people looking for it. For the customer. That's a storage 101. You don't just have them, once in a while you'll get a customer that will come in like, I need a 10 by 10. And, we have some available. Okay, I'll take it. No, you insisted, let's go and roll the door up, make sure that's the right unit for you, make sure it's in the right location for you. This is the unit you were going to rent. And there's no excuse not to, of course, take the lock right back off, and so it doesn't happen. And, it's happened from time to time, but this was a big inconvenience because, again, they came in like 8 o'clock at night. They, of course, rented the U-Haul, was plumb full, and they were ready to get in, and they couldn't get into the unit, had a lock on it. So they called the customer service number, and of course that went to the call center, and the call center was like, they couldn't do anything about it, so they ended up calling me as emergency contact. I ended up starting to talk to the customer, and this is against my own rules, but this is a 2-hour drive for me, and they actually said, we actually have some bolt cutters on us. So the fact that we don't like having customers have bolt cutters, but in this instant, I was like, cut it off. Get your stuff in there. So they did. They got their stuff in there. However, that was an hour and a half ordeal of them trying to locate someone and getting a hold of me and then me calling them. An hour and a half of total aggravation. They probably think we suck now. They don't want to come back to our facility, but they have no choice. Their stuff was already, there to move in. So this totally bad customer service that could have been easily avoided if you just showed the unit when you were moving the customer in and taking the lock off.
Well, and this kind of stuff goes back to what we were talking about in previous podcasts where, now you have someone, now of course it worked out okay and it sounds like everybody's fine, but, something that maybe you may not have been aware of, and then all of a sudden it shows up on your Google review, your Yelp review, or something like that, a web self-storage review, U-Haul review, whatever it is, and now all of a sudden you have an upset customer, and now they're, putting this on social media, they're putting it on Twitter, they're putting it on Facebook, just to relieve their anger, and, now we're looking back, and here it is. And this could have been just a simple procedural fix, and now it could cascade into something much larger. Thankfully, it didn't.
Oh yeah, well, I'm playing damage control. As soon as I hung up and they took care of that, I wrote them a nice long, sorry for the inconvenience letter with a gift card. Just trying to make nice and smooth things over, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like I said, a handwritten thank you note can go a long way.
Oh yeah, no, my favorite thing is sendoutcards.com, and I utilize that service all the time for. We'll probably do an episode just on that, but it's a great website just to be able to, get off these kind of, sorry for the inconvenience or thank you cards or goodbye cards, all sorts of things you can do with it. So I think it'd probably be a good idea to do a podcast on that, at a later time. But I think for this we should wrap it up.
Great.
All right. Well, we will talk next time.
All right. Sounds great. Have a good week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the 3 Mile Domination Podcast. Please check us out at our website, 3miledomination.com, where you can download our free ebook, connect with us on all the social media platforms, and to subscribe to this podcast. Please spread the word to those you think that will benefit from this show. Just don't tell your competitors. Thanks again.